Quarrel! The drain's clogged again! Call the plumber!
Hold up a minute. It's not necessary to call the plumber just yet. Did you know that most drain clogs can be solved with something as simple as a cheap plunger? Simple things like this could solve your problem in a hurry. You may be tempted to reach for that container of drain cleaner, but if you do so, it could work, it could solve the problem, but also know that it's not very good for your pipes as well. It can eat through your pipes over time. So if you can avoid it, it's better to avoid that drain cleaner if possible and reach for something as simple as a plunger. So when you go to use a plunger, go ahead and make sure that the plunger completely covers your drain and there's no place for air to leak out. Make sure that there's nothing in the way of your drain, and you're going to begin plunging back and forth repeatedly and usually really quick until you have results. And a lot of times I find that if you're pushing multiple times and when you finally get tired at the last moment, pull up really fast, and it often pulls the clog through and then allows it to push back down through again. Or sometimes you'll see the clog, the material come out of the drain, and I would typically take the plunger and step on it, grab it, before it actually goes back down the drain again, and allow the water to drain out, and then use paper towels, gloves, things like that to clean the nasty stuff that people don't like to touch. Did you notice an air sound as I plunged this sink? If you're hearing an air sound, it is not likely going to work using a plunger unless you find out where the opening is. In this case, it's a double sink, so you would need to plug the other side of the sink so that we're not pushing air back and forth. There is one problem with a plunger, however. If your plunger is being used on an opening and there's another opening between where you're plunging and the clog, the water is simply going to go swooshing back and forth through that other opening rather than forcing the clog out. Think of it like a pastry bag that you would use for putting icing on a cake. If there's a hole in the side of the pastry bag, you're not going to force the filling or the icing out the main hole. You're going to force it out the side hole. So you have to make sure all spaces are blocked. Here's an example in a bathroom tub. In a bathtub, you have the main drain, and you also have this part, which is an overflow. If I try to plunge this part right now, all it's going to do is cause the air to go up and down inside this drain pipe, and it's never going to force the air out. So if you ever needed to plunge a bathtub, here's what you might want to do. One of the things that I do is I cover this and plug it. And there are a lot of ways you can do it, but the way that I found that works the best is a toilet plunger. If you take the toilet plunger and put it over the top of that, and then using the other plunger, you can go ahead and plunge the tub. But again, if there are any openings, it's going to cause a problem. So in this particular bathroom, there is a problem, and that problem relates to the sink that's with it. Because when you plunge this, the sink starts to breathe air back and forth. You can hear air circulating in and out of the sink. So you also need to plug the sink. So typically, I would pull the drain and make sure that's tight. And then there are also two drain holes here that are overflow, just like in the bathtub. You have an overflow in case it goes too far, it goes down the holes. You have to cover up those, plug those in some way. And I just so happen to have two nice plugs. Next, take the other plunger covering up the overflow and use this plunger. Let some water go into the pipe. So you're moving actually water through it. You continue to do that. Until you pull the clog out, in this case, a giant clog of hair. And allow the drain to, if it doesn't go down immediately, which this one's going a little slow, try again. That's going down a lot better. Give it a minute. And you can always rinse it out and try again a few times until you're satisfied with the results. Here's another product that works really well in cleaning drains, but this thing is typically used for something that is in a basement main line or a secondary line in a house that is not part of the kitchen sink, the bathroom sink, something along those lines. So if you had a plumbing pipe a lot like this one coming down in your basement and it were clogged, you might be able to take the cap off of a clean out, like the black cap that you see there, and be able to stick this thing into that pipe, and you would connect it to a garden hose, and when you connect it to the garden hose, it would seal off the pipe and force the clog through the pipe. So let's check out how that works. So here's the actual device instead of a picture of it. Looks a little funny, but it does the job really well. So we're going to take this. Normally you would screw this onto a normal garden hose, but in this case I don't have one easily available to do, so I'm going to use my dirty old basement sink and that I use for cleaning paintbrushes and other things like that, and just attach it right to what I have set up here. This pipe represents the clog that's in your drain. I have a stress ball jammed in the end of it, and then we take in the other end, it represents the opening to your drain that you're trying to clear the clog from. So you take this part and you put it into the clog, into the end of the pipe, not the clog, and after you put it into the end of the clog, it jets water up against the clog. And sometimes that action alone is enough to clear the clog. But if that's not enough to clear the clog, you'll watch how this thing expands in a minute. When I turn the water on, it should expand, it'll seal off the entire pipe, and then you're using water pressure or hydraulic pressure to push the clog out of the pipe. So let's watch how that happens. It begins to expand, it seals off the pipe. You can see that it totally cleared the clog without much effort. Most of the time it works, and it works really, really well. The problem is, once again, what if I had, in this pipe, what if I had a hole in the side of the pipe, and where that hole is, that goes to another drain? I did this once with a friend. The friend, he called me up and said, "Hey, can you help me clear a drain?" And I brought one of these. I was confident it was going to work, and next thing you know, we stick this into one end, and we're waiting for the drain to clear, and all of a sudden I hear water running in their laundry room. And what happened was there was a drain line that went into the side of this that went to their washing machine, and we were taking water and forcing it. The clog wouldn't go past the clog, so it backed up the pipe and came out in their laundry room. So we had a little water mess to clean up, but that happens sometimes. One more way to clean out a drain is a drain snake. If you're going to this method and you're really not good with tools, I would honestly suggest at this point you consider just calling a plumber. But if you ever were brave enough, it's not that it's a big deal, but using one of these, it doesn't always want to go down the drain, it doesn't always want to work correctly, but the end that's on there is supposed to push through the clog and break it up, and it's just a big metal spring material, metal spring, that you're driving down through there and physically trying to push the clog out. And sometimes it works really well, sometimes it won't go through, and that's where the plumbers that do this every day are really good at that part of it, using these snakes and making them work correctly. If you're ever tempted to buy the ones that go on your drill that are $10, $15, $20, $30 at the local hardware store, my recommendation is don't. The last one I bought is in the trash, and I've never had any luck with those whatsoever. So if you're thinking about cleaning out that drain, fixing that problem, or the next time somebody thinks about calling the plumber, maybe it's worth going and grabbing that $10 plunger at the hardware store, or maybe it's worth grabbing that, whatever it was, $15 blow bag or drain cleaning expansion bag that was there. Or maybe you think about the drain snake. But at some point, if none of those work, the one good thing is you'll have them for the next drain clog, but at some point it's also worth just calling a plumber and letting them do it. So hopefully that helps you the next time you're thinking of calling the plumber.